Winning at this point in the season is an incredibly difficult task, and it requires a lot more than just talent to accomplish. Teams need to be locked in mentally, they need to have a rock-solid game plan to execute, and they need every single player to embrace their role to the fullest. We're in the middle of the second round right now, and every team has shown that they belong here, and while some teams are obviously more favored than others, nothing is a guarantee at this point in time because all of these teams have shown signs of weakness in different areas. In this video, we'll be going through all 8 playoff teams remaining, discussing the one thing that could possibly hold them back from achieving their goals. This could be an individual player's performance, it could be part of their overall game plan, it could be based on how the team is built, or anything in between. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I'd also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first team up is the Boston Celtics, and the one thing that could hold them back for the rest of the postseason is their overall decision-making. The Celtics are probably the best defensive team left in the playoffs right now, with a deep rotation filled with two-way guys who can not only get you a bucket, but also lock down their matchup, and they absolutely are capable of frustrating opposing teams with it. They could also be the favorites to go all the way right now, but the one thing that sparks hesitancy in this regard is that they have shocking moments that leave you scratching your head. That comes in the form of decision-making from their head coach, and it also comes from the decision-making of the players. Coach Mazzulla has now on several occasions refused to call a timeout late in games to draw up key crunch time plays. Jaylen Brown seems to start hot every single game, and then he goes long stretches after that without even touching the ball, which means that the game plan isn't even to get him involved, and when moments present themselves for the Celtics to assert their dominance, they fail to capitalize despite their overwhelming talent. Next up is the Philadelphia 76ers, and the thing that can hold them back from achieving their ultimate goal is James Harden's inconsistency. The James Harden experience has been a wild ride this postseason, especially in this series against the Boston Celtics so far. We very well may have watched the 2 best performances of his entire postseason career this series in games 1 and 4. The issue is that we've also seen 2 of the worst playoff performances of his entire career in the other 2 games. I'm about to blow your mind here, but the Sixers, of course, won the games that Harden dominated and lost the games that he stunk. To put it simply, Harden desperately needs to find a middle ground with his production, because his bad games have been so bad that they are costing the team winnable games. Nobody is saying that Harden has to be scoring 40 points every single game, but the alternative just simply cannot be shooting the ball 18% from the field combined over a 2-game span like he just did in games 2 and 3. Next up is the New York Knicks, and the one thing that could hold them back the rest of the way is Julius Randle. I hate to have to pick on one guy in particular for a topic like this, but there's just no way to excuse Randle's play after once again being named an All-Star this year. Randle was the team's leading scorer this season, and for the Knicks to be able to overcome the current deficit they're facing, they need him to get back to being that guy. The problem is that Randle has only scored more than 20 points twice so far this postseason, and on the whole, he is scoring just about 15 points per game, making a dreadful 35% of his shots from the field and 23% of his shots from 3. Randle has already been someone known for questionable shot selection, but he's gotten away with it with his ability to make some of those difficult shots at a decent rate. In the postseason, defenses hone in on guys' weaknesses, and Randle has been easy to figure out and exploit for opponents, which in turn is resulting in some embarrassing shooting nights for him. Randle needs to keep things simple, use his overwhelming strength to finish around the basket, and limit the low probability contested jumpers, or else the Knicks will be on their way out ASAP. Next up is the Miami Heat, and the one thing that can hold them back from continuing their miracle run is their over-reliance on Jimmy Butler. Let's face it, the Miami Heat are where they are right now because Jimmy Butler has been able to look like prime Michael Jordan on several different occasions. They upset the 1-seed Milwaukee Bucks after back-to-back games where he scored 56 points and then 42 points, and they're up 2-1 in their series with the Knicks at the time that I'm making this video, having won the 2 games that he played in, and they lost the 1 game that he missed due to injury. Realistically, the Heat have already outperformed all expectations as the 8th seed, now having a realistic chance to make the conference finals, so credit to them for even being in this conversation. But obviously, Jimmy Butler needs to be at his absolute best every single game for them to continue chugging along. Now over to the Western Conference teams. Next up is the Denver Nuggets, and the one thing that could hold them back the rest of the way is their depth. The Nuggets' starting lineup is a dominant, well-oiled machine led by Nikola Jokic setting the tone, and guys like Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. capable of filling it up in a heartbeat. The problems for them arise when those players need a breather on the bench, especially Nikola Jokic, because right now they're running an 8-man rotation that doesn't even feature another center, with Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, and Christian Brown, all being their reserve options, and for the most part their wing players. In each of the last 2 games that the Nuggets have lost against the Thunder, the core 4 players, which is the 3 players I already mentioned, plus Aaron Gordon, have all played positive minutes, but the bench unit have been outscored by double digits, and that's a tough deficit to overcome. It doesn't help that the non-Jokic minutes are small ball lineups against aggressive drivers to the basket, so that's definitely an exploitable weakness. Next up is the Phoenix Suns, and the one thing that could hold them back is DeAndre Ayton's mentality. The situation between Ayton and the Suns has been weird for a while now. This offseason, Ayton made it very clear that he wanted to leave in free agency and almost left for the Indiana Pacers, but the Suns matched that contract because he was a restricted free agent, and since he's back, the vibes have just been off. He's still a very talented player, but you can tell he's not fully bought in at times, and one clip in particular went viral where Jokic kept grabbing offensive rebound after offensive rebound, and Ayton was just standing there, and that summed up the effort that he gives at times. He's been benched down the stretch of games in favor of Jock Landale each of the last 2 games, and he has a negative plus-minus in each of the last 2 games as well, despite the team winning those games, showing that his minutes have been detrimental. Ayton probably needs Chris Paul in the lineup to be utilized to the fullest, but the fact that he's become a negative without him is not good news at all. Next up is the Golden State Warriors, and the one thing that can hold them back moving forward is their turnover issue. When you think of the Warriors, you think of a free-flowing offense with several lethal shooters moving off screens, freeing each other up, and moving the ball fluidly, but the Warriors were actually the team that committed the most turnovers in the entire NBA in the regular season, and unfortunately, that was a warning sign for things to come, because they are now committing the most turnovers in the postseason as well. They play loose and are not afraid to go for the home run play, but while they definitely convert on some of these looks to steal the momentum, they also commit a lot of turnovers in the process, and their opponents are capitalizing. The Kings definitely took advantage of this in transition last series, and now the Lakers are following suit, scoring a ton of points off of these turnovers. The Warriors desperately need to do a better job taking care of the ball because they obviously have the offensive firepower to keep up otherwise. And finally, the last team up is the Los Angeles Lakers, and the one thing that can hold them back the rest of the way is Anthony Davis's inconsistency. I made a similar point for the 76ers regarding James Harden, but Anthony Davis has been on an eerily similar path to this point. It literally seems like every other game Davis flip-flops between a great and dominant performance and then an underwhelming performance. Let me run through his numbers by game. He started the postseason off with 22 22 points, then 13 points, then 31 points, then 12 points, then 31 points again, then 16 points, then 30 points, then 11 points, and then 25 points in the most recent outing. That is literally a flip-flop every single game, and not stringing together two good scoring performances in a row. The Lakers are still in command early on, and have had other guys step up in each game, but they want to compete for a title, and they can't have a flip-flopping Anthony Davis if they want to accomplish that. He's been playing phenomenal defense so far, so in that regard he has been elite, but he needs to stay aggressive offensively and assert himself more consistently. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think can hold these teams back. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.